Welcome to Module 4, Staying Connected. We are going to talk about signatures, iMessage, FaceTime, and a very important thing to understand, whatever type of tablet or smartphone you have, your address book. Okay, raise your hands if you are sending out emails that say sent from my iPad or sent from my iPad on the Rogers network, AT&T network, Verizon, whatever it might be. So I'm going to show you how to stop doing this, because why advertise for either Apple or the carrier? Not a big deal if you're, retired, who cares? My mom even changed hers to say sent from Nana's iPad. So you might want to consider that, something along that line. But if you're actually using your device for work, you really need to change it. So let me show you how. Okay, so you go Settings, Mail, Contact, Calendar, and then you go to Signature. And there's two options, All Accounts, which is what this shows right now, and it will be exactly like that. If you have 3 email accounts, they all would say, in this example, sent from my iPad. But I would suggest that you actually change it to say per account. So per account, what I do is for my corporate one, I have a certain signature. For my personal one, I have a certain signature. For my Darci Talks blog, I have a certain signature. So you can actually change it to whatever you want. And a tip for you is, if it's a long-winded signature like this, I actually send myself an email from Outlook or Gmail, whatever the signature's on. Then when I get it, I copy the signature and I paste it into this field rather than having to type all this out. So next time you email me, hopefully I see a new signature. Alright, so what is iMessage? So with iMessage, you can actually send instant messages, which can include photos, videos, and other info. You can see when people are typing and let them know when you've read their messages. So if you were a BlackBerry user before, it's kind of similar to BBM. iMessages are displayed on all of your iOS devices logged into that same account. So you can start a conversation on one device and then continue it on another. You can send messages over Wi-Fi using iOS 5 or later. And why is that important? Well, check out our course on mitigating roaming fees over to the right. So once iMessages are sent, both the recipient and sender must have iMessage enabled. So let's take a look at how you actually enable iMessage so you can actually use it. Okay, so you go to Settings and Messages. Now, here's just a little tip. I don't know why Apple's done this, but they kind of interchange iMessage and Messages. So iMessage and Message are the same thing. Okay? So in this little location here, under Messages, you have a bunch of options. So you can turn it on, so obviously it has to be turned on for you to use it. Okay? If you want to notify others when you've read their messages, turn on Send Read Receipts. The Show Subject field, well, it kind of it's like a subject header in an email. You have the option to have that or not, and then you can block unwanted messages. So Send and Receive, though, that's where you specify a phone number if you have a SIM card on your device, an Apple ID, or an email to use with iMessage. So in this example, you have to log on with your Apple ID, so it will require you to know your Apple ID and password when you're setting this up. And you can set up multiple email addresses to receive messages. So you can, in this example, you can be reached by iMessage at, and you can add another email, you can start a new conversation from one that you use normally. So play around with iMessage, it's super powerful and fun. Okay, so one way to start an iMessage conversation is to tap the icon at the top and then enter the phone number or email address, or tap and choose the contact. You can also send messages to a group by just entering multiple email addresses. An alert appears if a message can't be sent. To tap the alert in a conversation to try send the message again. To resume a conversation, just tap the conversation in the messages list to the left. And to hide the keyboard, well, that's at the bottom right-hand corner. So you want to see what time a message was sent or received? Drag the bubble over to the left, and then you can see the time. And also, you can make a FaceTime call to that person you're texting. All you do is click on the contact, tap the FaceTime icon, that's the little video button, and you can also make an audio call. You can actually do the same thing from your address book, but remember the other person must have an Apple device because it's only Apple to Apple to use FaceTime, and they must have enabled iMessage and FaceTime if you're going to use either of these. More on FaceTime later in this module. If you have an iPad without a SIM, and more on SIMs on our course on mitigating roaming fees, then of course you'll always be sending over Wi-Fi, which isn't through the carrier. And aside, on iPhone, when your iMessage bubble is blue instead of green, you'll know that you're using iMessage instead of texting or SMS. That means you are using data and not your texting plan. Apple likes to say, iMessage are blue, so you are not. And what they're referring to is the cost of texting, especially without a plan when you travel. So please beware, there's so many issues when people take their smartphones or tablets and use them when they're traveling. So beware, and did I mention again that there's a course on that? Over to the right, okay, mitigating roaming fees. So remember, blue is iMessage and green is SMS or texting. FaceTime allows you to make video or audio calls to other Apple devices. FaceTime lets you talk face to face and allows you to switch to the rear camera to share what you see around you. FaceTime might not be available in all areas. On iPads with Wi-Fi and cellular models, you can make FaceTime calls over a cellular data connection. Cellular data charges may apply, so I always suggest turning on Wi-Fi so you don't get any crazy bills. So this is kind of what FaceTime looks like. So we want to enable it. We go to Settings, and then FaceTime, and then you just turn it on. Now again, an Apple ID and password is required. You can set up multiple email addresses to which receive FaceTime calls. iPhone users can also receive FaceTime calls to their cellular number. So now you've opened up FaceTime, you're ready to go, and you see that there's these three options: favorite, recents, contacts. To make a FaceTime call, you tap on the FaceTime icon and pick the contact. Tap to make a video call or tap to make an audio call. Want to call that person again, or they've called you? Tap recents and then choose the name or number. Can't take the call right now? When FaceTime call comes in, you can answer, decline, or choose another option. To avoid unwanted orientation changes, lock your iPad in portrait orientation. If you don't remember how, refer back to Module 1. And the favorites. Well, favorites take advantage of, the people that you call most frequently. So tap favorites and then add a favorite, tap, then choose contacts and add the favorite as FaceTime audio or FaceTime. To call a favorite, you just tap the name in the list and make sure numbers for contacts outside your region include the country code and area code if you are using the phone numbers. If you're juggling calls, FaceTime calls aren't forwarded. So if another call comes in while you're on FaceTime, you can either end the FaceTime call or answer the incoming call, decline the incoming call, or reply with a text message. Let me show you how FaceTime really looks. Isn't this cute? My nephew lost all his teeth and was excited and FaceTimed me to show off. So I'm at the top left, as you can see there. Now one quick thing is that you can multitask during a call when you're having a FaceTime conversation with someone by pressing the home button. Remember where that is? It's on the bottom button of your iPad, assuming it's portrait and the button is on the bottom. Then you can tap the app you want to use. You can still talk with your friend, but you can't see each other. To return to the video, up at the top of your screen there'll be a green bar and you just tap on it. So some other options while you're on a call with someone is that you can drag this image to any corner. So if it's bugging you, like right now it's on his face and I want to move it, I can just drag it to another corner. You click here to switch between the front and rear cameras. So if you want to show someone, you know, maybe you're on vacation, you want to show them the ocean, you just click on that and your iPad rear view mirror will show that. Rear view camera will show that. And then the other option is the button on the right, which is to mute. So you can hear and see, and the caller can see, but not hear. Okay? And of course, just click the end to end the video. Most people get quite confused about this, so I'm going to try and simplify it. So you have an iPad or an iPhone or a BlackBerry or whatever. It doesn't matter which wireless device you have. It is syncing with something else most of the time. So you might have Outlook and you have your email there and your iPad's syncing to whatever that email client is. It could be that. But I'm going to explain what that actually means. So you probably heard that term, email client. But what is it? So really, basically, it's just an application that allows you to send, receive, and organize your email. So it's a viewer of your email and contacts and calendar. An email client might be Outlook. It might be Outlook Express. It might be Windows Live Mail. It might be Mac Mail and some others. There's other ones out there. These are the top 4 ones that most people use. And then you have different types of email that your email client reads. So like Gmail, Yahoo, Office 365, all these ones that are up here. So now that you have a little bit better understanding of the lingo, let's see why it's so important. In the next few slides, I'm going to talk about configuring your contacts, mapping, and adding birthdays and anniversaries. So there's always a rule to live by when we're talking about contacts. So it is one contact entry for one person, and don't be shocked. Especially if you didn't, it's all by accident. You might have duplicates or triplicates. And I actually have below an app that you can use for about, I think it's about $20. I can't remember now, and the prices change all the time. But I've used it before for other clients. And what we'll do, it takes everything and it cleans it all up and removes duplicates and merges information. So it's an awesome thing if you have any issues with duplicates or triplicate contacts. But as I mentioned in a prior module, the first thing that you might want to check is if you have iCloud turned on for contacts and calendar, that might be a problem that you're having. So you might want to turn it off and see if that fixes before you go and spend any money on an app that will do it for you as well. So having said that, there really should be like one contact entry for one person. The only time that maybe you should have 2, I personally have 2 for myself. So one is a business one and one is personal. So if I want to send to my friends our address and our buzz code to get into our condo, then I don't want that on my business one as well. So I have 2. That's about the only time I would say that you have 2 contacts for one person. I'm going to use Outlook to show going forward and Gmail because so many people still use Outlook and lots of people use Gmail. But it doesn't matter because all of the email clients, so whatever you're using, it still has the same field structure. So full name would be a field, company name would be a field, job title would be a field. Okay, so even though I am talking about Outlook and that's what you're looking at, it doesn't matter what you use. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick tip here. So this is my husband, and we communicate a lot, and he's got a